Salve a tutti, sono Almarok e benvenuti in un nuovo video. Oggi siamo qui per fare un'intervista a Jørn Holen, noto come Steingrim, famoso per essere stato batterista dei Windir e per essere il batterista dei Vreid. Prima di iniziare lo ringrazio per la sua disponibilità, per aver accettato di essere qui oggi. Vi lascio l'intervista e vi auguro buona visione. Nice to meet you, thank you for staying today.
Nice to meet you.
Why you started to do music, why you started to do with metal music. Told me about the beginning of your career, your influences on drum, and how you discovered metal and black metal.
We have to go way back. I'm from a musical family. For starters, my father was a musician, and also my brother. So I guess that's why I got interested in music. My brother played the drums, so that's pretty much how I picked up the interest for drums when he had his own drum kit back home where we grew up. But it was two passions for me. It was like playing football, soccer, and listening to music. And we have the older brothers of some of the members, older brother of Valfa, was a big metal fan as well. So they introduced us to heavy metal and rock. Kiss, foremost, the first band who really caught my attention. So we actually had a concert back in when we were 5, 6 years old, where we played Love Gun Kiss album while putting on makeup, trying to be the artist. So it started quite early. The interest for rock and metal came further on. Like we started listening to more 80s heavy metal, Iron Maiden, Halloween, Judas Priest, and then around 1990, 91. The music became more extreme, more or less. So we just started exploring the musical scene, and then these bands popped up. And of course, going from the melodic type through metallic albums, and then ending up in like Death and Sepultura, more like trashy stuff, and then all the way to the black metal interest.
Now let's talk about your complete story with Windir, your joining the band, your relationship with Wildfire, and the album of Windir at your point of view and your contribution album by album, concept, etc.
Okay. Well, Valfar or Terje, he was one of my closest friends. We grew up together. He's the closest neighbor of Jarle in Vreid. So we were like grew up as close neighbors, childhood friends. He was also very influenced by different music styles. He took his own path really early, so Windir became his project while we had ours. And we like had this parallel world where we practiced together. Me and Terje practiced, and he needed a drummer to do play through his songs. So I joined him at my place rehearsal. We were like 15, 16. And after a while, we recorded albums. He recorded albums, and he was kind of getting influenced really by all types of music then back then, like more like 90s techno and stuff, which you can maybe listen to, like the outro of the Journey to the End is heavily influenced by the music he was listening to. And before the 1184 album, we pretty much joined forces. We sat on our in two different chairs and said, "Why we have two bands now? We grew up like this. Why don't we just like join forces and play in one band?" Which was his and Jarle's idea. So yeah, let's do it. So, and for me personally, I came into Windir when he recorded the second demo. He recorded that back home in Sogndal, of course. And I was his friend and joined and practiced with him. So I took the drums, and after that, just joined him on every album because he needed a drummer. Alfa was a good composer. He's an okay musician, a good composer, but he needed help to do stuff to get it the perfect way he wanted it. So he used guitar players and drummer, me, and vocalists who came in and add things because he couldn't do it himself. His vision was, of course, to do everything himself, but I think he realized that that would not happen. So then I might have gladly helped him out, of course, and by then it's could be a part of the band, although session for the first albums up until the level before.
Which album of Windir satisfy you at most?
I have a really soft spot for the Leakfab album because I think that's when the band finally came together as one. The 1184 album was recorded as some of the songs on that album were supposed to be on the Ulkus album, which we were supposed to release. So there was a 50-50 writing split pretty much between Jarl and Terje. And at the Leakfed album, they sat down and wrote the songs together, pretty much like a duo. So, and I think you can hear that on the sound as well. The production is much more powerful, not so clinical. And Windir had gone from like a classic Grieghallen sound through the Akkerhaugen, really, really clinical sound, and then suddenly it was kind of massive with heavy guitars and more dark ambient, which is more in my favor. So if I have to pick one song by song, I think that's the one. Even though people always ask me about the Arthur album, which is kind of special. They had all the special elements with the recording, with me and Terje and Grieghallen, of course, but musically it's the lead third album.
At this point, I will ask you, what do you think about Valfar as a person, as a musician, and your react that is very early that.
Of course, he was a childhood friend of mine, so as a person, a really kind and careful person with his family. I took care of his younger brother and sister. Was a major part of our friends, like growing up together. Him and his older brother Vegard, Jarle, and myself, and my closest neighbor Geirmund, she's a really good friend of ours, still in touch. And also my sister was also in the mix. So everyone grew up together and had a really good time. And as a person, really, yeah, careful and really thinking about everyone else. Every New Year's Eve, he came down to my father and he had bought him a bottle of whiskey as a gratitude and thank for like letting him do the rehearsals at our place. Like every year, he didn't miss out one year. So, and my parents as well really, really loved him. Yeah, so they were also, of course, devastated when he passed away. For me, that day is like one of the days you don't remember. Vegard gave me a call and said he was missing, and I immediately had this really bad gut feeling that this was not good. Although we didn't know back then what had happened, but I pretty much understood that it was serious. It was so typical of him not being there for dinner with his family and stuff. So and tragically, of course, the sad news came a couple of days later. So it was a really tough period for all of us, especially for his family. But we've like tried to keep his legacy alive by doing shows with the Windir songs. Always incorporated him as much as we can. Although we have our own band, we never forget. So it's kind of a privilege to be able to perform music and by then remember his legacy as often as possible. Also, his family is they're very satisfied, like keep on going, keep on playing, don't stop. So that's always been the mission from them. And also why we incorporate Vegard to some of our songs. He's been singing with us for several shows and touring as well. So really close relationships between the band and the friends who grew up. Yeah.
What about the realization of the album tribute to Valfar and Windir of 2004? Which emotion you had to release this after is that?
I think it's the part. Well, that was a part of the grieving. I guess it's part of like after his funeral, we started a new band, of course, and then releasing this was kind of like a way to tribute his name and also his family. And we had a lot of good friends who wanted to join, friends from Emperor and from Fintroll in Finland, and Enslaved, of course, not to be forgotten, which they were really into like doing covers and trying to contribute to the album. So releasing the album was, of course, emotional, but I think it's a part of our like to get past the grievance and move on. We had to release something like a tribute and not let it end with a studio album. So that was just quickly decided, like we have to do this. Let's get this done. I think it's a really beautiful album. Some of the covers are really good. It's not a part of the Windir catalog, of course. If you see like official releases, it's more like a, I don't know, a tribute album, which we also joined in on more or less. So, but I'm really fond of the album. I put it on from time to time, really, especially connected to the leak song from Vreid, which is a good friend of ours. The acoustic song is one of my favorites, and I listen to it. Yeah, maybe I don't know, a couple of times. Yeah, maybe 3, 4 times a year. I pick it up and just listen to it because I think it's a beautiful piece of art. So yeah.
Now let's talk about the foundation of Vreid, your work with the band.
Yeah. After his death, of course, we sat down and we talked, and we were totally agreed that we didn't want to stop playing music. We didn't have like a musical plan back then, but we just agreed that this is something we want to continue doing. And we also was kind of like trying to get out more on the road and play live shows, which we didn't. Unfortunately, have a few shows with Lindale in total. So we sat down and we had a talk. We have to do something new. We talked to Sture, me and Jalla, and we agreed that we were going to form a new band. And back then, when we lived in Oslo, we had this good friend, Nesse, who was also there studying and working. So we asked him to join on the guitar and make it a 4-piece rock and roll band, more or less, like more rock and roll stylish. Was the intention of like maybe distance from the Windir past to make something else, not sounding like the Windir songs. So that's the easy answer is like we just formed the band. We were really angry, really sad, and that was our anger management to just go back into the studio and record album and go straight on the tour. 6 weeks with Enslaved. It's like a brutal start to the musical career, but still, yeah, it was cool. And then the albums just kept coming. We were really, really into the studio all the time, traveling a lot, touring, up until 2006, 7, 8, when family members started coming. I had my youngest, my now older son is born in 2006. So, and Stian also joined the band later on. He was the first to become a parent. But in Vreid, it was me, and then suddenly it was like logistics as well, with children coming and dogs and jobs and houses and so. But we kept going with touring and recording quite intensively up until the COVID period. But now, after some years now, it's finally good to be now back on the road. It's the first time since 2019 actually we had a bigger tour. So yeah, it's been a ride. We developed, and I guess one of the things maybe most notable is like after 2, 3 albums, we started to pick up again the legacy of Valfar and Windir and incorporated more folk elements, more music, more tones, more melodies into the Vreid universe. So coming more of a hybrid, I guess, in some parts of the music, bringing back elements instead of like distancing it from the Vreid, which we did like intentionally for the first couple of albums. So yeah, actually, you could say we grew up more or less. We got old.
If you want to be remembered for an album of your career, an album you're particularly proud or representative for your career, which is and why?
I'm not sure if I can answer that. Um, if I can split it in two, I want to be remembered for the Antor album instead of. I think the Leakfed album is the best, but for me, Antor is also the recording and the process of the album is kind of bring back memories. So maybe the Antor album and in the Vreid catalog. Hopeless to say. I would say the new album, of course, but if I have to pick one of the older albums, I guess the one of the albums that closest to me is the Milorg album, which I personally put really high. So then it must be the maybe Milorgan tour then, if you have to pick two.
What about your plans and the plans of the band for this 2026?
Yeah, we just started a tour with Hypocrisy, Abbat, and Vomitory. So we just parked in Gothenburg. So for the third show, uh, this is a 25 show tour in 1 month, so quite intensive. So we're finishing this tour, then we come to May, and we have just one festival before the summer break, which is Sweden Rock. And then Jarle now is intensively working with Tons of Rock. He's a festival manager of Tons of Rock in Oslo, which is now the biggest festival in Norway. So quite much work for him there. So we pick up the festival after the summer breaks in early August, and then have 3-4 festivals until the autumn, and then the new tour coming up, which is not announced, I guess. So we have touring plans for the autumn as well, and winter. So I guess touring and festivals is the key word. Not writing new material right now, so the new album is just out. So then do as much shows as possible and do cool stuff, the events, the off things. We always join, like playing in weird parts of the country or going to weird places. Yeah, everyone wants to join the 70,000 tons cruise, always, because it's hot and it's in the Caribbean. So, but those off things is really cool. I really enjoy them a lot. Traveling to India or going to Japan or going to the Caribbean or playing up in the mountains in Norway, which is also a cool thing to do. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for staying today. Good luck for all. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.